From Creamer Media in Johannesburg, this is the Real Economy Report. Our top stories this week. Veteran South African mine-protected vehicles get a new lease of life. Conflicting views on the remediation of the Wonderfonteinspruit. And we speak to Solar World Congress chairperson Jon Adams. South Africa's specialist demining company, Mechem, has gone back into the vehicles business. Keith Campbell reports.
Mechem, part of the state-owned Nel Defence Industrial Group, is remanufacturing veteran Casper mine-protected vehicles for sale to export customers. Mechem CEO Ashley Williams explains.
Mechem were the original designers of Casper. It was in the days when Mechem was still the applied chemistry unit at the CSIR. So that is why the name Casper is actually an acronym for the South African Police, SAP, and CSIR, if you throw it together. So when the war against terror started, there was a need again for protected vehicles, not only ballistic but also mine protected. And Mechem then saw that there was quite an old stock of Caspers still available within South Africa of ex-SANDF and ex-SAPS vehicles. And then we started with a program of having these remanufactured, which basically means that we strip it right down. That's just the hull. The hull is sandblasted and it is then built up with new components, and it's almost a new vehicle. It's just the hull of the old vehicle that we'll then use. And then these vehicles we are selling mainly into Africa and mainly in the peacekeeping role for the different forces in Darfur, Somalia and these other countries where there's still quite a big threat at this stage. There's still a market growing for it, specifically the Casper. You'll find all the so-called MRAP, the mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles that the American and the other allied forces are using in Afghanistan and Iraq, are all built on the same principle as the Casper. The Casper is just a very simple vehicle and it works. So you will find that often countries buying into Africa and donating money want Casper specifically because it's a vehicle that's very easy to maintain in the field and it's a very simple vehicle. There's nothing that can really go wrong, and what goes wrong your local mechanic can normally fix quite easily.
The remediation of the Wonderfonteinspruit area is conceived as a paradigm shift after 120 years of negative environmental and societal impacts that arose through the extraction of gold. Loni Prinsloo tells us more after the break.
The Wonderfontein Remediation Action Plan is a cooperative initiative by key stakeholders to develop a clean-up plan for uranium-affected areas in the Far West Rand. A public participation process has been started by the Department of Water Affairs and the National Nuclear Regulator, together with the Federation for a Sustainable Environment, as part of implementing the recommendations for the remediation of the Wonderfontein catchment. The first of 4 meetings held at the Mugali City Hall in Krugersdorp led to a number of conflicting views and hot debate regarding the severity and health risks associated with uranium contamination in the area. The National Nuclear Regulator Executive Director Ryan Phillips comments on public concern.
And the NNR has repeatedly said that there is no immediate danger to members of the public, despite the fact that we see these levels of activity in the environment. This is really natural. I mean, the uranium is natural. It's technically enhanced because it probably went through it may have gone through a gold plant or it got concentrated in some way, but it's very close to its natural form. And that's the reason why we're saying that there's no need to indicate that people are going to be contracting cancer or someone's going to die or someone's really going to have a major health problem. So I think that's very important.
However, the Federation for a Sustainable Environment CEO Mariette Lieverink disagrees with the regulator's statements.
Acid mine drainage, in terms of the report that was done by the CSIR, can of course cause congenital malformations, mutagenetic effects. It affects the neural development of the fetus, cancers. It also affects cognitive functions, and it also causes skin lesions. So there is therefore a risk or a hazard that has to be quantified because there has been no toxicological study study done in order to determine what is the chronic impacts to communities that are exposed over long term to acid mine drainage. We do know that acid mine drainage causes animal mortalities. It also had caused, for example, the total destruction of all aquatic biota, and it also seeps into the sediment, which obviously affects the soil.
Even among these differences, the Department of Water Affairs Gauteng Regional Director Marius Keert states that these meetings are essential in moving the process forward.
For many years the department have been doing monitoring. There were monitoring done by the municipalities, by the mining companies, and nothing has been done to really remediate the Wonderfonteinspruit. So the purpose of this meeting was really, it's the first of 4 meetings, is to get the community involved and to share information with the communities in terms of what has been done and what do we plan to do in terms of remediating the whole Wonderfontein.
6 years ago, South Africa won the bid to host the biennial International Solar Energy Society's Solar World Congress in Johannesburg. Christy van der Merwe was there.
Sunny South Africa has a wealth of renewable resources available to generate power, and the World Solar Congress brought this under the spotlight. From policy to technology, the focus was strongly on solar energy and how it could be harnessed in South Africa.
Important for South Africa? What you've got to do is look at the sunshine. You've got to look at the sun every morning and say, this is why it's important. We have to use that particular piece of energy that's there delivered free of charge, and we don't do it fully at the moment. We have to use renewable energies. We have to get involved in it. We have to embrace it. It has to become part of our energy mix. And we have to get people to know about it. That's why this conference has been important. It's important because in the past we haven't talked about it. We've got it lip service, but we haven't talked about it. And when we talk about it internally, South Africans to South Africans, we really don't hit the subjects that we've been hitting from having the number of guests and delegates that have come in from overseas. So important. Information dissemination. The event statistics said that we had 473 registered delegates, of which 60 were professional students. 78 countries were represented. We had 210 exhibitors, that's people who were exhibiting in 67 exhibition stands. We had accredited media, 51, so that gave us 734 participants. But we had others. We invited pupils from school. We had 171 pupils, scholars come through, and we've just embraced and welcomed 20 students from the Tshwane University of Technology to attend the final day. So that's another 191. Then we have 57 staff members on board. So all in all, we had around about 950 odd people coming through who were part of this Congress. But that wasn't all either. Now you've got to open it to the public, the exhibition. And so between Monday and Tuesday, that's not counting today, we had just under 600 visitors coming through the door, which we think is not bad considering it's a weekday.
Interestingly, it was not only wholly imported solar systems on display, but smaller component manufacturers as well.
I think it's just the inclusivity of everything that's gone on. It's not a trade show where people are going to sell things. Questions are being answered. Good questions are being asked as well, believe it or not. We won't get the ISIS Congress back in South Africa for maybe another 25 years. So this was once in a lifetime chance for me.
And now for a sneak preview of this week's Engineering News magazine. In our cover story, we report that Sasol Synfuels has 2 challenging years ahead of it. Read how the plans for a local super-thin solar panel production plant are advancing. And we report that state-owned aerospace and defence industrial group Denel is looking at how it can reduce the amount of recapitalisation it needs to complete its restructuring and turnaround. And in Mining Weekly this week, in our cover story, we report that coal-to-liquids producer Sasol is facing the prospect of replacing 3 of its large old coal mines with 3 new coal mines. Read how the offspring of the iconic Nelson Mandela and South African President Jacob Zuma have taken to the stage in South Africa's ever-changing gold mining industry. And Rio Tinto Alcan's Kucha smelter project has been terminated owing to Eskom's capacity constraints. That's Creamer Media's Real Economy Report. Join us again next week for more news and insight into South Africa's real economy.
Engineering news, not just for engineers.